Good evening and namaste members. I welcome you all for this half-day seminar on the occasion of MSME Day on the topic Partnership of CA Profession with MSME, Funding, Compliances and Beyond. And to develop upon this subject, we have CA Venkatesh Bhat sir with us. May I call upon Chairman of Bangalore Branch, Manjunath sir, to escort the speaker onto the dais and welcome him with a floral bouquet. Thank you, Chairman sir. I have privilege in introducing today's speaker, Bhat sir. Venkatesh Bhat is a distinguished financial professional and gold medalist in CA Intermediate examination. He secured top rank in South India in CA final examination and has further enhanced his leadership acumen through executive educational program at Wharton University and London Business School. Venkatesh began his career in 1993 with Hindustan Unilever and went on to hold key roles at Whirlpool and GE. He served as a chief financial officer for over a decade, first at ACT Fibernet, where he played a vital role in making the company the third largest wired broadband providers in India with industry-leading financial KPIs, and later at logistics startup Blackbug. His leadership has earned him board position in various companies over 20 years. In 2016, he was recognized among the top 100 most influential CFOs in India by CIMA. Currently, Venkatesh is Managing Director of Extrawise Services Private Limited, a consulting firm that supports startups and MSME across India in business growth, finance and HR. Extrawise also assists international companies in setting up global capability centers and outsourcing operation to India. He serves on board of several clients' companies and is a certified independent director advising board on governance, finance and strategic matters. Beyond finance, Venkatesh is actively engaged in social entrepreneurship and sustainability. He is the co-founder of Climate Tech Social Enterprises, contributing to ESG initiatives and policies input on climate change and carbon credit across India. He also co-founded a baking and culinary institute in Bangalore aimed at professional training of aspiring chefs. An avid mentor, Venkatesh guides startups incubated at Shastra University and support the professional development of chartered accountant and finance leader across the country. He is a frequent speaker at ICAI events and MSME forum and a contributor to ICAI publication. With this brief introduction, I request before you CA Venkatesh Bhat sir. I request Chairman of Bangalore Branch to give welcome address along with the overview of MSME Mahotsav. Thank you.
Good evening, members.
Good evening.
Respected speaker for the day, CA Venkatesh Bhat sir, and all my dear senior members and dear professional colleagues. Today we have gathered for this ICAI MSME Mahotsav. Actually, it was supposed to be happening in Peenya Industrial Area, Peenya Industrial Association building. Due to their elections, the venue, they could not, last minute they cancelled, and then that's why we shifted this particular program here. Extremely sorry for that inconvenience caused, if any. Today we have gathered here for MSME Mahotsav, a tribute to the spirit of enterprise that powers India's growth from grassroots. The role of chartered accountants in MSME, definitely medium-sized firms, enterprises would take care of itself, and because of its size, definitely a chartered accountant might be there, would be there rather. But small and micro enterprises, they would need handholding by chartered accountants and professionals like us. India's MSME backbone, that is, India is home for our 63 million micro enterprises, forming 99% of MSME base, generating over 110 million jobs and contributing nearly 45% of our exports. In Karnataka alone, we have about 4 million MSMEs spanning IT, biotech, food processing, and many more. The challenge what MSME is going through, as I was mentioning, though medium enterprises are very fewer, they disproportionately get the benefit from export schemes, tech support, and access to credit and whatnot. Right? In contrast, micro and small units, which employ the majority of labor and drive rural livelihood, face higher barriers with respect to compliance, credit, market access, etc. So, in case if policy rebalancing need to be done, it needs to be to empower micro and smaller enterprises, businesses as such, by promoting export clusters for micro units with logistics and building branding support, expand credit access with higher guarantees and fintech tie-ups, simplify compliance through one window systems and digital onboarding, digitally empower them by empower the small units with tech tools, ERPs and e-commerce platforms, ensure procurement fairness, especially for women, SC/ST entrepreneurs, and support them by skilling, first job hiring within MSME clusters. Build micro-industrial parks with shared infrastructure. With that, if these steps are taken care, it can increase micro small exports by 10 to 15%. They say boost rural employment, enhance financial inclusion, and spread the innovation. Let us shift our focus from only Make in India to Make Micro India. The future of inclusive growth lies in how we nurture the smallest enterprise. With that, I conclude. Members, again, as I was mentioning, let us help. As I was just discussing with Venkatesh Bhat sir, small enterprises or micro enterprises, they wouldn't know that they should be going to a chartered accountant. They would be doing their business, and nowadays we do online business where your receipts would be through your Google Pay or some UPIs, and they would have crossed that threshold limit, and then they don't know that they are supposed to be getting registered under so many acts, and then they need to comply so many things. But they would end up coming to you saying that I have got a notice, something like this. So first we need to give that helping hand, and then chartered accountants can be, we can grow their business, and let us as chartered accountants support them. With that, I give it to Venkatesh Bhat sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Everybody can hear me? Yes. So first of all, good evening.
Good evening.
Friday evening, and given the Bangalore IT culture, I think 4 o'clock onwards work slows down here, and most of the IT and other younger professionals go into a more hibernation mode for the weekend. So I appreciate you guys coming and joining here. I also know that some of us have come not necessarily for the topic, but for the CP credit. It's a reality. See, the way I normally do these sessions, and I am also speaker on the MSME course for the institute, and it runs in 10 modules, and it's a very interesting, very good course that the institute conducts. I don't believe that the knowledge flows one way, which is from the speaker to the and definitely not in this today's internet connected chat GPT driven world where everything that I say here you can actually either you already know or you can in seconds you can actually figure that out. So I would suggest that let us make it more interactive. Some of the points that I am going to make will look a bit controversial because I have my own experience of 30 plus years as across the spectrum. I have been a corporate and I have been a CFO, 25 years of work experience in the best of the organizations here. I have some mid-sized company experience and startup experience. I have as an advisor to the startup, I have an experience. And I am also an entrepreneur by myself. We set up GCCs and shared service centers across. So a wide variety of experiences. So probably I may have some point of view which you may not agree as as practicing chartered accountant. I would welcome that debate. It is better to debate and even disagree. It is okay. Rather than actually I keep on going on a monologue here and 50% of the team getting lost in their mobile and completing some pending work which is never ending for a chartered accountant. I think we wake up in the middle of the night and also work actually. That's the kind of work ethic that the CAs have. So let us make it as interactive as possible. There is a sequence in which we have actually with the institute framed the topic. So typical CA thinking starts with the compliances, accounting, legal, etc. Probably extends to funding and stops there. Okay, so what we believe, the institute today believes, and I mean with my years of experience, I completely agree that the days where we can call ourselves as partners to MSME are gone if we are only restricting ourselves to accounting services, some tax advisory, some legal part of it, and probably a little bit of help on the funding. Today, the real partnership of MSME from our side will come only if we are able to, whatever we do, really contributes in the way they today struggle in their business. In a way where we are able to bring our expertise, our probably business understanding, management expertise, in a way that your financial advice goes to actually to enhance their business. They are able to do their business better. They are able to access funding and other options better. They are able to build their teams. They are able to get a much larger perspective of the business environment in which they are working. Only then, whether you are a practicing CA, then you are bound by certain rules of the institute regarding what you can, what you cannot. Or people like us who are chartered accountants but are management consultants. We work with them. We don't do a typical chartered accountant work which is certification, audits, but we help the businesses to sustain, grow and really flourish. So I would think that the time has come where if we call ourselves partners, and I have seen that institute repeatedly making this point that we are partners to MSME. I think across the CA spectrum, the transition has to come in terms of the new opportunities the MSME challenges today provide to us. That's the, I would say, overarching theme on which I have built my presentation. We will run through, there are many slides, because many of these are also I am using in the MSME course itself. So a lot of it is actually, that way in level of detail that is there is actually may not be even today relevant. So some of those slides we will skip. Largely there are three parts. So we start with the what is MSME definition, the regulatory framework, how the industry, how the ministry is organized, what does the ministry want to do with MSMEs. So want to think just beyond regulatory and just when we think of the government, we think more that of somebody who controls, who looks at registration, etc. The way actually the thought process of the government is not that. The government wants to contribute in development of MSMEs, in creating a positive environment for the MSMEs. We'll touch upon those things. There are a host of funding and regular funding options to the MSMEs. In the interest of completeness, I will cover them, but I will skip unless any of you want specifically to go through that. I am sure many of these details either you already know or you would have heard most of them somewhere or the other. Post that, the initial compliances and then the funding, I will get into how a chartered accountant should help an MSME in the life cycle of an MSME. It comes with a bit of a management perspective. It is not just about regulatory or funding, the management perspective I give you. And at the end, there is one topic that I like to cover. Sometimes I have done it in forums like this. I have done one-to-one with many CAs. I believe, a lot of the chartered accountants today are like horses with blinkers, because they see, all the chartered accountants look at a very small area, and we believe, there are too many people competing for the same set of, clients, and hence, they don't know how to actually, think beyond this. What do we do? They seem to be stuck. Okay, I have invested 5 or 6 years into getting my CA cleared. I have come and I have started my practice. I see many others doing the same thing. Then anyway there are issued by guidelines. So you have what I call a scarcity mentality. From the scarcity mentality, unless you move into an abundance mentality, there is no hope. Because if you are on every day, if you are on that mindset, and I see that in some of the groups also. So why this institute cutting down the articleship period from 3 years to 2 years? And out of that 1 year is going to be industry training. Are we just the 1 year trainers for the students for nothing? The thought process runs very, very strongly in some part of the groups. I think while the concerns they are having are right, I think the solution doesn't lie in actually trying to do more with the CA students or looking at that framework. You have to look at how do we increase revenue? What are the opportunities which will give a typical chartered accountant who is practicing with either solo or with the 2 or 3 partners? What is that they can do to actually look at a much larger pie? It's always better to look at 5% of 1 crore than looking at 100% of 1,000 rupees. So you have to look at the minute you make the pie much larger, then you have a lot more opportunities. That part I will cover at the end. Okay. So largely the agenda covers definition, significance, etc. How the MSMEs, larger perspective of the MSME sector in the country, and some bit of the compliance I will cover. Some funding options. If you have specific questions, you can contribute. Otherwise, we will run through the slides. The last 2 parts are where I would want to spend a bit more time, which is the advisory role in MSME life cycle. What can chartered accountants advise and really help in the MSMEs in the way they run their businesses? And in large, today, actually the way the environment has changed, there are many opportunities that are available for chartered accountants for taking. But obviously you can't say that I passed my chartered accountants and I've already invested all my intellectual capital into that, and now I just want to get the benefit out of it. It doesn't work like that. I can tell you, this is my 32nd year post qualification. My learning hasn't stopped. I need to keep learning today, in multiple ways. I do a lot of reading by myself, and then I do some of the courses that are available, and then many conferences, many meetings where, let's say, well-known speakers, well-known authorities, I do participate, or if I am not able to participate, at least I will get the gist of it. The learning doesn't stop. If your learning doesn't stop, I can tell you, your earning doesn't stop. That's the key. Okay, so I will cover that in the last part. So, last year only MSME definitions changed. Actually, all the data that Mr. Manjunath spoke, okay, 11 crores of employment, 6.3 crores or 63 million of MSME, those numbers technically changed because the definitions changed last year. And all the numbers that we are talking most of the time are coming from the study done by the government of India in some 7 years back. Those numbers never changed. Now today you have at least the MSME, annual report that comes out and some information is there. But otherwise a lot of us are living in the past actually. According to me, the number is not 63 million. At least it is 50% more than that. That's the kind of today's MSME numbers that are there. Remember, there is a lot of attrition also. A lot of MSMEs come and die very quickly. And that's the larger part of it, and that's what we have to actually think about it. So as you know, now the definition has changed up to 125 crores in manufacturing is the medium definition, and 500 crores is the on the annual turnover. That's the number change that happened last year. Any comments so far on any of this? Any of you? I want it to be interactive. You don't need to have only a question. You can even have a comment. It is okay. The more interactive we make it, you have 3 hours of sleeping in this. Even if out of that 30 minutes you engage here, and out of that you pick up a couple of points, I would say that's a good takeaway for the evening, rather than being bored with the monologue by the agency here. Okay, let me move forward. Some of these numbers are MSME numbers actually 5.93 crores. You can there are different numbers. So whichever number you pick up in the market is from source, that will be that number. According to me, it's a much larger number, but we'll have to go by the published numbers today. In some so we are sticking to that number. So there is an increase. Okay, the CGR is a 43%. Now, how will this CGR be calculated? Obviously, by Udyam registration, etc. Obviously, that it doesn't take into account the number of MSMEs that closed in that respectively, because that will not be easy. Neither the ones are immediately getting recorded. Many MSMEs which go away, their registration continues. So all these numbers need to be taken with a pinch of salt at the end of the day. Few years back, the number of people employed by MSMEs was supposed to be, what chairman said, 11 crores. But according to my calculation, it's around 25 crores today. So that's and imagine, on a 140 crore population, so you have let us say 80-90 crores of employable population. Out of that, 25 crores is just employed by the MSME. Take away the agriculture part separately, because agriculture itself employs so many people. So it's a huge sector from whichever angle you look at it, either employment generation, revenue generation, social development index, whichever way you look at the MSME sector, no government can ignore, or no professional bodies like ours can ignore. So it's a huge contribution as well in the GDP, 7% in manufacturing and 23% GDP from service activities. So probably the manufacturing is a bit low because core sectors are handled by the larger entities. That's the reason the manufacturing, you look at the total GDP is 7%. But remember, in exports there are 45%. MSME does 45% of the exports of the country. So it cannot be that that means a large part of this core, including oil, etc., are actually consumed within the country. So exports is significantly driven by the MSME sector. So couple of years back, we were actually talking about why Udyam registration doesn't go up. But now, again, registration is actually significantly going up. The 5.93 crore unit, now I am straight away referring to Udyam registration number as the realistic number of the MSMEs in terms of what can be quoted. Still, there are a lot of MSMEs to be registered in Udyam. But I think as a profession, you have done a good job in especially post-COVID in terms of driving Udyam registration. 2 months back, I was in Dubai. I was participating in one of the fintech summits there. I was talking to people in Dubai. MSME sector there, the credit penetration is 35 to 40%, and we are at 14% as a country. So, lot of our MSME sector's problem is also to do with that they are not able to penetrate. They are not able to get the right kind of credit for the right institution. We'll cover what exactly the problem. A lot of it is already known to us, but we look at it in some bit of detail. Sector contributes 30% of the GDP. 49, one of the recent credit report, I think, SIDBI report, I suppose, was showing 45 point something. But typically, if you look at the trend, it is around 49 to 50% of the exports is driven by this sector. So, the bane of our MSME problem is in this slide. We can talk about a huge number of MSME sector. 98% is micro. These are the one-man armies or one-woman armies in many cases. Okay, so and this with one wind this way or that way gone. Unless this sector really is supported, MSME is never going to be better. And if you cut that 14% of credit penetration into micro, small, and medium, you will realize that almost 99% of that is between the top two. Micro has nothing of that, of the credit that has gone. That's the source of MSME's problem. So this is for the sake of completion. I suppose all of you know the MSME registration process. That it's a very simple process nowadays. I think the one good thing that the government of India has done in the last decade is a lot of this digitalization, digital process actually rule. Mind you, when you go in other countries and see, it is not as good as India. In many other places, there still a lot of processes are actually, I won't call them completely manual, but broken processes. So something you need to do here, then something you need to actually partially go and actually submit some paper, all of that is there. So that way, I think Government of India did an excellent job. Any of these registration, if somebody wants to do it, it's very simple. So I will not cover that in terms of detail. There are a lot of benefits of MSME registration. So lot of the CAs actually stop at the first line, which is avail lower interest business loans. And reality is that if you actually go and check in the bank and all that is, for theory it is there, but unless you put margin money on the table, no one is going to give you even a mudra at the end of it. And lower interest business loans come with many caveats. There are some subsidies as well, we'll cover some of them actually. But most of the time this benefit, this loan is available, let us say it's still at a 9-10% minimum is the interest rate. So when many micro enterprises will find it difficult actually even to go through that. So there are, while on the paper this benefit is there, in reality it's not easy to do that. There are some exemptions under direct tax laws. Then I would say a lot of the other benefits of MSME I think CS should start focusing on. There is a, on the design, on the patenting, on actually getting ISO processes done for their processes. Then actually once you get into the process part of it, they become eligible for the government purchase schemes. So if we don't help them in that process and we only think in terms of just funding for them, obviously MSME don't look at us actually as their contributors, their supporters. I asked this question many times to the chartered accountants. In fact, even to non-practicing CS I have asked this question. When you say, I am an advisor to a business, okay, ask yourself one straightforward question. If the business team is sitting and discussing their strategy of the business, are you there on the table? If you are not on the table, you are communicated that information later, then you are not the business partner. You are just an accountant, or you are at best a tax advisor. That's it. The day chartered accountants go and sit on the table for strategy of the business, that is when you are the real partner, and that is where you will actually justify your chartered accountancy profession certificate, and you also have a future ahead of you, because if anything, over the last decade, the problems of MSMEs have only gone up. It has not come down. It is lot more complicated than what it was even 10 years back. So all the benefits are there, but I would suggest you to go through the tariff tax, some subsidies are there, then government schemes and policies. There are a lot of benefits available. So I think that's where we need to actually contribute. Startup registration I covered. Technically, a startup is an MSME. So that's the reason I have covered the startup registration as well here. So it's even simpler one, and there are many other benefits with the startup India that is that's really good. Again, one question that I want to actually ask is that, should somebody register for the sake of benefit? Or should they register, it's like, being part of the census. You don't give a census data because you get a benefit. You give a census data, you participate in the census because you are a citizen of the country. Similarly, the way I would want is that the Udyam registration or startup registration, etc., you should do because you need to be visible in the digital world. So if you are not seen as a company, as an MSME, okay, you are invisible. Today, the benefits of being visible are far more outweigh the disadvantages of being visible. Earlier, the idea basically is that, why should I register? If I register, some department will ask some question, this guy will come and ask a question. So let me hide under the table, if possible, under rangoli. Okay. Now, it is not so. There are obviously challenges. If you are, you need to show some level of compliance. All those things are there definitely. But the benefits of being part of digitally aware India far more outweigh anything else. So while the benefits we show, I think the way you need to say that the benefits are, I would say, incidental. First, you need to be visible and participate in the digital presence of yourself in the digital India. I would say, you always have a white economy and a black economy. Okay. Today, the white economy is one where most of the benefits are actually migrating to. You cannot be part of a economy where your transactions are not visible, transactions are not there, and then you still want to be participating because a lot of the other supporting system has already moved into that. So it is important to be, to register and be visible. So there are definitely some benefits are there. Especially, I would say, some benefits on the patent cost, trademark registration cost. All these benefits are available. So you should, first of all, learn about them in the context of your business. Again, a question to you: if let us say there is someone who is actually filing a tax return, or how many of you go out of your way to understand other benefits that they should have taken and they have not taken? It means you need to understand what do they do, what manufacturing do they do, how do they distribute, where are their clients, and in terms of these benefits, link the available benefits to their business. You do a mapping and then have a involved discussion with the owner. If you are saying that owner needs to know, and then when he is asking, then only I will be able to help him. You are not effectively becoming a doctor unless you tell me all your symptoms and possibly even do some Google check and then tell me probably I have this problem. I cannot give you medicine. That doesn't work. You need to be more proactive here. So it's a lot of self-certification, etc. is involved here. Compliance with many of the labor laws also, under startup registration becomes simpler. So those benefits definitely will. Today, I have not seen any startup saying no to registration. The problem of the no registration used to come only largely with the MSMEs. So quickly we'll cover the ministry role. If I haven't shown this slide and I had asked you what is the role of the ministry, many of you have struggled to even give an answer. Okay. The number one objective is for the ministry, make MSMEs globally competitive. That's their number one target. Not the funding is incidental to this target objective. Then promote growth and development, create new enterprise and employment opportunities, enhance manufacturing base in India through technology upgradation, facilitation and credit through MSME. Why I am asking this? You may say that a lot of this is on the paper, but when I go to the Sarkari Babu, he is not going to be impressed by my stating all this. But point is that if you don't know the full framework, you will never be able to identify which lever to press, where to go and talk. The reality of any of the setup is that there will always be good eggs and bad eggs. So you need to know which is the right place where you are able to actually to get the benefit for your MSME your client. Once you know that and you know this overall framework, then you will be in a much better position to help your clients. The structure of there is it starts with the Ministry of State actually at an MSME level, as you were aware actually. There is a secretary and there are various departments. So largely, the institution framework you can actually break into four. There are nodal agencies. See, Kali, Choir, etc. are very, very specific ones. NSIC I will cover in some level of detail today. Then there is the Startup India as a part of the, it's coming as part of the ministry's work itself. Then there is the Directorate of MSME. And this is where we keep on talking about this fund of funds. 10,000 crores and all kinds of numbers people talk about. All of them come under that access to venture funds and then a special scheme can be. There are now under this, each state government also actually has their own setup. And then there are financial institutions. So this is a total institution framework for the MSMEs. So let's quickly cover what are the funding challenges. So can I have some thoughts on it? Because none of this is actually very complicated. All of you have practiced. So what are the challenges for the MSMEs to get funding? Let me have some views from you guys.
You don't have sufficient collateral.
Collateral, yes, correct.
Not having the information.
Correct. Anything else?
Not much capital, self-capital.
Linked to the capital, collateral. No capital, no collateral.
So I think your bank people will not trust the client actually. And they are not ready to give initially any funding unless until you show the business and some growth.
Correct. See, I have listed 6. You can actually even make 60 also. But the 6 ones, according to me, the biggest issue starts with information asymmetry. What is information asymmetry? Even if the business is doing well, the MSME is not able to show the business performance the way the bank wants to understand. So, information asymmetry basically means there is an information, but that's not the information which banks want to see. And what banks want to see, these guys don't have it. No. There can be 10 other reasons. Say somebody wants to optimize on tax planning, somebody wants to do something else, all of that. But the reality is that what MSMEs need to understand is that funding is not something that happens with the press of button. So, like anything else, you want to become a CA, then you have prepared 3 years, gone through the article sheet, struggled, burnt midnight oil, and reached there. Funding, you have to first become eligible. How do you become eligible? By creating enough information which gives the capability of the business to generate cash to any financial institution. Otherwise, you are not going to get funded. And this is where the many CAs need to actually change their approach. The first question many CAs ask, in fact, my own clients have this experience. I am telling them, you need to do, let us say, you need to have P&L, balance sheet and all that. The only question CA is asking, why do you want to pay tax? That's the only question that the chartered accountant is asking to our clients. Now, if we go with the mindset that our only value addition to our clients is minimization of tax, then please don't come and ask why nobody wants to pay for professional services in this country. Unless we change this mindset and say that I'm not saying you don't assist in a genuine what is within a legal permissible way of tax optimization. And obviously you are on the client side. But if your only approach to all his problems is like you have any problem in the body, take Guru. Right? It doesn't work. So this is where I am saying you need to start changing. And information asymmetry here is largely contributed by accountants. I will not say chartered accountants, because reality is that the large number of MSMEs in this country do not go to chartered accountants. The 98% micro, you think they are all chartered accountants? No, they are not. They are not even aware that they need even to go to CA. So there is a huge market which we haven't even tapped honestly. And they are all advised by, again half-baked, I won't even call them professional. But those say somehow, the only thing they know in their entire, their Bhattanike, there is only one astra, which is service tax. So, those are the guys who advise these MSMEs. That's where the problem is. Then other part of the lack of financial know-how from the MSMEs. Even the business guys who are there in the business for many years, they don't know anything beyond the overdraft. Maybe somebody knows about cash credit, but beyond that, in terms of the available opportunities for funding, okay, what are all applicable to that their particular business, they don't know. Again, the problem is they are not actually consulting the right people. So, if at all, that's the reason, in fact, some of you came later. The chairman was saying that we want to actually conduct this in Kenya. We should be actually doing this in, where potential clients are there and they need to understand what chartered accountants can actually contribute. No point in CS talking to more CS and actually carrying the same knowledge back. It only creates only incremental benefit to the society. Third is the lack of technological advancement and the ease of doing business. Typical MSMEs do not use any tools, whether it is their business or whether it is their accounting or anything else. So because they are so backward in that, the opportunities that come through the digitalization, they are completely unaware of. And today, digitalization is not simply doing ease of business. It is actually creating business plan. If you are not using the right tool, probably you are losing 2 to 3% margin in your business statement. That's the way it is. But again, they don't know, and they don't know that they don't know, and that's a bigger problem. Then, because they are not really funded by the right this one existing high cost debt from unregulated market. Okay, so they take loan from whoever is ready to give them loans at all kinds of terms and illogical, which is what is the biggest problem of unregulated markets from a finance perspective? Forget about somebody giving dhamki and all that, leave it aside. But what is the biggest problem of this? What is the biggest problem of unregulated markets loans to MSMEs? Think as a finance professional.
High rate of interest. High rate of interest.
Okay, but I would want to put it even in a more refined terms. Not just high rate of interest.
Quick repayment. Quick repayment. They want quick repayment.
You are touching part of the problem, yes.
Unreasonable terms of lending.
Look at it this way. Say at the end of the day, why do you take a loan? To run your business. Now in the business, you have a certain amount of margin and certain amount of cash turnover, cash flow or a cash cycle. When you sit with the bank, if you look at the different schemes of the bank, what does those schemes are? Suppose something is for funding of fixed assets. The scheme is such that you are supposed to be paying it over a period of time of that fixed asset life. But suppose it's an overdraft, then you are supposed to rotate money because you are also supposed to, your cash is supposed to be generated. So the loan category, the cost, the cash turn, this one is linked to the usage of the funds. When you go to unregulated markets, that guy is not interested in where are you putting money. Are you putting into working capital, fixed assets? They are not worried. So there is a fundamental mismatch that happens in terms of the utilization of the loan versus the repayment of loan. And this is where the biggest issue start actually. Not that many MSMEs don't understand, probably they may not understand in a theoretical framework the way I explained. But once they take the loan and they start pinching them in the body, they understand what is happening. But then it will be too late actually. So many times, they don't want to go to the bank route because it's more complicated, more difficult. But the benefit that comes is that your business cycle is matched by the repayment cycle. That's the key part. So, and in many cases, the margins are not such that you can actually pay 18% or 24% interest. If you are not generating 50% margin or a 40% margin, you can't really be paying this kind of rent. So the only way that it will ever get done is by bringing in some other source of personal assets and pay. So this is where the MSME death happens, because the matching of need of funds to utilization of funds. Then inadequate collateral, madam also mentioned that, and it is linked to first of all being underutilized, under capitalized businesses, limited equity capital. Then see, not only in India, almost everywhere else. MSME businesses are not the same as bigger businesses. Bigger businesses come within a lot more thought process, structure. Somebody does business because he wants to do business. We are all Bangaloreans, right? We all understand the passion. You do things because you are passionate about it. For many MSMEs, there is no passion. Their livelihood, personal life and business are not really separated. It's the only thing he knows how to do. So it is not even structured in the beginning as a business. That's where the problem starts coming. So in general, the solutions of the funding can actually be classified this way. I am not really showing you something very, very difficult to understand. However, it is important for you to think from this perspective when you are talking to a client. So what does this mean? So you have short-term funding and long-term funding. So first of all, your mind, you have to be very clear. What are we really using this money for? Okay, so many of us, the way we approach the entire funding part is that you look at the balance sheet. If you have this asset, probably you will get this loan. Okay, again, you are starting from a wrong point. You need to ask, what is that money is going to be needed? Where are you, going to utilize this money? Many of these guys are already with water over their heads. They are coming, right? At this stage, they are saying, somehow you get me some loan. Okay, even at that point of time, if you are not matching the whatever possible loan to the utilization part, and then teach them how to manage these cash flows very carefully, they are getting into trouble. A lot of MSME compliances are about which is the biggest MSME compliance issue that you deal with on a daily basis. We're all practicing guys, right? I am guessing on your behalf, but I don't want to guess. I want you to tell me. Which is the compliance? And you talk about yourself. It doesn't have to be the right answer. There is no right answer first of all. What is the one issue, big issue that you see today from a compliance perspective?
Labor compliance.
Labor. I would even say many cases, directing tax, not paying. GST. Now, it is very easy for a common man to say that if you are running a business, you should be compliant. But if you really go deep into this, the issue is not just that. The issue is that they don't know how to manage their cash. So, if you are a professional like you guys, then you understand, this is my money, this is government money, this is the labor money, and you need to manage those flows accordingly. So, you have a cash flow process, cash flow thinking. Only when you get into this, you will ever solve this problem permanently. But if you are saying all money has only one color, so I take the money, this money I need to actually, to pay PF, but today I need to pay this vendor, otherwise he is going to not meet my requirement. So I go and pay this and leave the day. And say tomorrow morning we will see what to do. This is where a lot of these problems come from. My realization over the years is that many guys who are defaulters are not defaulters by intent. They are defaulters because they have gone into a cycle which they are not managing. They don't understand how to manage this. Probably in some of these cases, they actually need to do downsizing and really run the business better. I am covering some of it actually. So obviously some of it is you may not take it. Your experience may not. I would want that conversation to happen because I told at the beginning, I don't want a scenario where you come here and you look at your mobile and then I am actually doing a monologue. That's not the point here. That's not the way it should be working.
So can you explain the GST only?
Yeah. Okay. GST mode is nowadays a very common one actually. A couple of years back it was not there. Suppose you have a GST return, your client is filing. Based on the GST return cash flow that the bank is able to see, based on that they sanction an overdraft.
GST turnover.
Effectively an overdraft kind of facility. So I mean this named differently by different, but that's what it is. So you have a conventional ones and there are new age ones actually. Trade credit or fund-based revenue funding, channel funding, financing and all of these are new age ones. So government schemes are there, and then digital microfinance. There are P2P. I would have put them in the red because it comes with its own set of challenges and not really relevant for every type of business. But if you are a good advice your clients, you need to understand every possible option and what is the pros and cons of the the businesses of the type of scheme. So NSIC is a very large organization in this country, and many chartered accountants haven't even heard the name of NSIC. Okay, so last year was 7,500 crores disbursed by them. So what do they do? Okay, they support raw material distribution, tender marketing. If you have gone for a tender and based on that you want this one, they can actually support. Single point registration scheme is there, so and the NSIC also is one of the largest technical center in the country for MSMEs. So many technical benefits you can actually get by approaching NSIC. Incidentally, I don't have the slide here. I have another slide which shows that Karnataka is one of the lowest government benefit availing state in the country. Can you guess which are the more advanced, better states actually?
Maharashtra.
Yes.
Tamil Nadu.
Gujarat, third Tamil Nadu. Actually, in fact, we are talking actually. Bangalore is the largest branch in the country. We have the maximum number of CAs in Bangalore. Yes. So, what is the number? I think 22,000 something today, the Bangalore CA number. So, we have the highest number of professionals in this particular state. I am only talking Bangalore, I am not even touching the other branches. And we are the largest branch in the country. But our state is one of the lowest ranking one in terms of getting the benefits from the government. So it is a food for thought for a lot of us. So I will not be getting in details because then I will be missing the end larger part of it. But see, there are 20 technology centers, MSME technology centers in the country. Okay, where design, manufacture of tools, etc. is supported. They also do a lot of skill manpower training. Today, there is a lot of talk by various state governments on the global capability center related training. Lot of, Tamil Nadu is doing a humongous amount of work on that. They have tied up with various colleges and there is so much of manpower training that they do. Again, they may be doing this. Now, if your MSME doesn't even know what kind of skill sets are being trained, they don't even know where to go to ask, right? On the other hand, when you go and sit there, they say we don't get the right people. Are you looking at the right place is the question. If you tie up with figure out where exactly this particular skill set is being trained and understand that, then probably you will be able to get the right kind of trained manpower for yourself. Product specific support, MSMEs, a lot of technical support is being given there, including project report preparation. So then you have different kind of development institutes, which is that I said consultancy, technical support, market research. So they assist in securing finance for you, for MSMEs. But you need to know how to actually avail them, right? So then there are testing centers, and these testing centers are very critical if you want to participate in the government bidding, and if you want to be eligible for some of the export schemes that for which you can then put up your product for. So then you have NIDC, which is basically it's a financial institution actually. It functions as a consultancy mostly for the industrialization requirement. So basically this NIDC largely supports slightly I would say out of the MSME, not the micro part. It is the medium enterprises. The support will come from this. Then there are various kind of schemes. A lot of these already you guys are aware of. For the sake of completion, I am actually putting them here. Credit and financial schemes. So PMEGP, I suppose everybody knows about PMEGP. I am seeing some blank eyes. How many of you know about Prime Minister this scheme, Employment Generation Program? I think you guys should do some bit of homework. And how many of you advise? Please raise your hand. You have clients, and how many of you advise them on funding and how they are actually going to grow their business? How many of you advise? Nobody. So what do you advise then? What do you do? sir, what is the kind of work you do? Is it accounting and tax return filing? I'm seeing only blank eyes, blank faces here. What is the work that you do? I'm trying to understand. See, even if you, let's say, you are only today helping them in completing accounting, doing some audit, and then your focus is on bank audit. Okay, even assuming even that situation, I am sure there will be 3 or 4 at least companies, small companies which are coming to you for accounting and tax return. If they are there, then for the sake of those businesses, you better understand all this. Because you can't say that my client does not want to pay me if you are not giving them the knowledge and the advice necessary for them to grow the business. Right? Okay. CGT MSME? Yes. I am sure, yes. So at least I am happy to hear this, CGT MSME. Can anybody explain what is CGT MSME?
There is no collateral security in the cash. There is no collateral security. 75% will be backed by central government, that insurance, and 25% we can take collateral.
It's absolutely right. I think I made this first pitch, in the initial part. Always, any of these schemes, the way to start the discussion is stating for what actually this particular scheme is meant for.
For MSME.
It is MSME credit guarantee. So MSME is taking some credit. Okay, in the back end, that part of the credit is guaranteed by the government under this scheme. So in case there is a default, then the bank is able to take advantage of sort of an insurance. Hence, the bank is passing on that benefit in terms of lower collaterals and all that. That's right. But the way any of these schemes need to be internalized in our mind is that what is the business use for which you can actually do this. You start with that, then when you discuss with your client, you start the discussion from the right point. Where are you going to deploy this money? What is this meant for? Then obviously, each of these schemes benefits, definitely you need to explain. I am not saying no. But if we start with the logic of what is the benefit in this scheme, without figuring out and advising the client correctly, this scheme is meant for this particular use and this scheme is meant for this particular use, you are starting the conversation and actually giving a wrong advice. Or I would say, let me correct myself, incomplete advice. Then where half the problems come. After some time, when the bank start asking those questions, there is my chartered accountant did not tell me this. And then there is a dissatisfaction. Then my CA never advised me properly. Okay. So, schemes for technology assistance, market assistance, skill development, other schemes. So, all these schemes are there. Trust me, I have done this MSME course and probably I would have addressed by now at least 2,500 CAs. 90% of the people don't know beyond credit and financial literacy. Rest of them have no clue at all on the other benefits that the MSME actually can avail. And this is where you have to develop the depth, develop the understanding of this. It is not necessary that you, as a CA, you cannot understand a trademark or a patent or what is required from a technology perspective. I think if you are good enough to do ChatGPT, you are good enough to do all of this. It is just that we need to open our minds. So this is a employment generation scheme. This is actually large limit for micro enterprises. So there is a good amount of benefit here, and also then SC category, women category, there are additional benefits available. So 90 to 95% of the total project cost will be actually the banks will sanction here. So MSME champion scheme. Why do they call it MSME champion scheme? Any idea? It is okay. Well, I think I am sure your college professor would have told you this. It is okay to give a wrong answer.
Because they encourage MSMEs, like championing.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, they are trying to create a class of So MSME champion means, at the end of the day, that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, it's about business. So we have moved out of this, completely protected kind of as an economy long time back. Probably few people, including me, who have some, grey hair, will remember those days. But now, post 1990s, this all actually gone, right? There's no really any kind of protection and even when we say make in India, but make in India, you should be able to compete. Your product should be still be able to compete in the global market. So MSME champion scheme is about that actually as an objective. How do you really bring up to the MSMEs to the required standard for them to compete in the market, global market? So there is so here this is not about the funding. ZED. What is ZED? Zero defects. Zero defect certification. Suppose your product is zero defect certification, then you are able to compete in the global market. That's the whole idea. That, some of you who would have been got exposed to, you would have heard, how many of you heard of Six Sigma? Yes. What is Six Sigma?
Error rate is 1 in
Error rate is?
1 in million.
So, okay. Right, correct. So, tell me if your aircraft, okay, are you okay with that kind of a defect? If you think Boeing should be having a Six Sigma target, what they should have?
Mission 0.
Correct. So it is not Six Sigma. Probably if you, practical terms, it may be 60 or 90 Sigma. So, it has to go to a level where it is, even after millions and millions of, flights, there should be zero defect, right? Do our MSMEs think in that? Do they believe that their product needs to be defect free? The whole scheme here is to help them to go there, get their product tested, tell them what is wrong with that product and how they can actually improve to really reach a better defect rate. So I will not get into details. I just want to put that thought in your mind, figure out and for your respective clients how you can actually help here. So there are again incubation, IPR and design. What is incubation?
Startup.
Okay.
With the seed, you just from the ideation stage, you just let them come to the next level. That's what.
Correct. You are right, largely. Why do we say that? No, suppose an idea is not a startup idea, and probably that businessman is not even here, he is in some form of Chetavu. Then, is he going to get a benefit of incubator? See, incubators are basically, today it's a government scheme actually. There is many of these colleges and other research institutes, etc., can be incubators. And there, you have a business idea, you go there and take their help. A lot of supportive environment is available. You will get professors with whom you can discuss on the topic. You have laboratory and other, methodology by which you can test. Probably you will get the benefit of others who have done a similar kind of test on those products. Because these incubators also they will be focused on particular product categories.
Like
So,
IIM has incubator. IIM has a
Yes, see, IIM is a more famous example. But today you take, for example, in Chennai you have IIT, which is running it. So they have an incubator called Pravartak. So it's one of the very famous ones where a lot of successful ones have come out. Especially, even in Bangalore, one industry where there's a lot of work happening here. In cases, very easy to guess at. Bangalore. One, I would say, very, very high technology area.
IISc. Indian Institute of Science.
No, I am talking about industry. Indian Institute of Science is right.
AID Tech.
Huh?
AID Tech.
AI, okay, no, I wouldn't agree on the AI part. Defense and even
Road network.
huh?
Road network.
So basically on the entire aero side, there's a lot of work happening, there are a lot of incubation work happening here. And obviously, on the defense also, what you have not seen even 10 years back today on the defense, a lot of small and medium enterprise are coming in. And that's actually even the government scheme actually. They also do not want to depend only on the government HALs and of the world only to do this. So there is a huge amount of gap in terms of smaller businesses in this sector. A lot of incubation work is actually happening. So on this, the whole point here is that even incubation is in the government's radar. So let us say somebody comes with an idea, and somebody is saying that I am starting a business. Okay, don't just look at MSME registration. Okay, you have done this. I will help you on bank accounting. Think into what is the product that you are doing. Have you really looked at all these aspects of how your business can become stronger and you can actually do your go-to-market much faster. He would then he would want to have a business discussion with you. Pradhan Mantri Mudra, I think the collective knowledge here will be more than mine here. Because while I know the theoretical, probably I would have done 1 or 2 Mudra schemes for my team members. A lot of you guys would have done a lot more Mudra schemes for your clients. So this is at least one of the more used ones. Though at the end of the day, I think Mudra scheme, if you don't have collateral, you are still stuck. And it's not a very, I would say, cheap one. I would have thought that for something which is supposed to be the initial kicker that the business requires, probably I think as a society we have to give a much lower percentage than what today what's happening on Mudra. It's still coming at a more or less market rate with slight bit of discounting. But I think at the initial stage of a business where they require the funding, probably there should be a more. But what that is our personal views. What is available today in the market is this, right? So this is something that a lot of us actually help them. At least it's better than nothing. Okay, this scheme is there. So there is a huge amount of funding that is offered on this. 5.52 lakh crores in the last year. Again, this is one of the largest credit sanction that happens in this country comes to the Mudra area. Then CGT MSME scheme here is a 1.5 lakh crores, growth in the covering 85%. So guarantee approved itself is 17.24 lakhs. That is here one business. So that's the number of businesses that are getting approved under CGT MSME. So this is SIDBI scheme. I would say this is not really meant for a lot of the I don't know whether I put the numbers here. This is basically quasi-equity nature. Basically, if you take the loan, tomorrow you are not able to pay, then the SIDBI can actually ask for equity in the company. With that kind of thing. And then definitely it will be, there is going to be collateral required and all that. But it's still a soft loan. So when somebody says, if you don't pay, I am going to convert the equity, that basically means there is going to be a bit of, they are going to be going soft on the collateral part. So, but then you need to make yourself eligible under all other parameters for the SIDBI making GST. We discussed GST based overdraft. So financial analysis is not required. Assessment will only basic turnover as per GST return straight away. Then up to 2 crores, I suppose this is the same limit right now. Because at least I have not seen any update of this number actually. Bank statement not required for assessment. So it's a good one. When I made this 1 year back, this slide, I admit that the 3 banks were giving, but I understand now almost all banks are giving in some other name. So then this is the credit guarantee scheme for startups actually. So CGT MSC for MSMEs and CGT SS for this. So it's up to 20 crores people can get loan under this. And startups and MSMEs eligibility is you have to get a stable revenue for 1 year in the same year. So only after a year actually you can actually avail this benefit. But this scheme is available. It's again a credit guarantee. So there is basically a financial institution gives you a loan, and once you are eligible for this, in the back end, the government guarantees the loan to the bank. So Startup India Seed Fund scheme. This has been there 2015, it's almost 10 years now. This is up to 20 to 50 lakhs funded by incubators. It will be through the incubator route. So you need to be part of an incubator, and then there is a concept of host incubators, HI. This is a government scheme. Today you have a college and let's say you have a certain historical performance of the tourism. Then probably that college can actually launch a technology business incubator, TBI. So when they launch the TBI, the college becomes HI, host incubator. So what happens? Then they get up to 1 crore also for funding lab and other activities which they can actually help the startups. And per startup, 15 lakhs is the kind of money government will sanction, provided the startup's idea is good and it goes through a team, it goes through some technical evaluation. They are no longer going to ask you for collateral. So it's basically, if you have any startup which is not gone through an incubator route, it's a good idea to actually think about it. And it doesn't go to be have to be stopped at 15. Once the 15 lakh happens and you go through, you create a history. Then the credit is always like that. The good creditors who do not need money will be offered more credit. That's the life. So you have to create a history of taking loan and then paying it in the time. You create it, then you become eligible for much bigger amounts in future. So revenue-based financing, this is not for everybody, because this is a very high risk loan given by because here, apart from the revenue of the company, for a lender there is no other security per se. They will take personal guarantees and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you know what it is. So here, because it is a revenue-based fund, so you need to repay it much faster, and effectively the interest rate is also. So I would say this is a typical unorganized sector kind of funding done by people who wear suits and so that revenue-based funding, but it is I would say last resort funding effectively. Sales invoice discounting. So how many of you have helped on sales invoice discounting to your client? So can anybody guess then what does this mean? Especially the last benches. I love last benches. Any idea what is sales invoice discounting? Yes, sir.
They just fund based on the invoice discounted value, and they collect from the client on behalf of the person to whom they have funded. Credit.
Yeah, so effectively they will have a say in terms of the collections coming through. It has to come through a designated account. Sort of an escrow arrangement will be there, it's slightly different. Escrow is again, let me, I did not want to get into the basics because I thought somebody will say, start yawning actually. Escrow is an arrangement where A is giving money to B, and when B is paying under certain circumstances, A is saying that it has to go through an escrow route. So performance is guaranteed. The escrow arrangement is not only that for funding, it can be for multiple things. In export, it is very common, right? So let us say export, when you are exporting or you are importing, then probably the other party will need to pay in advance. Now you don't want to pay in advance because you don't know whether they will deliver. So then you get into an escrow arrangement where you say, I have sent the material and I am giving the proof of that to an intermediary who is holding the escrow. Now based on the evidence that you have given, the third party will release the money. They have already collected the money from the buyer. So that is the escrow arrangement. Now escrow arrangement can happen for this kind of buy and sell transaction. It can happen for funding. It can even happen for tomorrow for, let's say, agreement signing. That also happens through escrow route actually. Where you can call it, the blockchain is very advanced. We have this one, but you have an arrangement where both the parties, the multiple signatures that need to be done, etc., is done through an escrow arrangement. So much so that today, I know at least a couple of Bangalore startups which have made escrow as a business model. So they offer the escrow facilities, and against that, it's all can actually collect money. They can be fee for using the escrow facilities. So you are absolutely right. It's a quick fund dispersal, digital processing, collateral fee, and short-term cash cycle. We will at least be able to shorten our cash cycle. Revenue-based financing I covered, so I don't want to again go into this. Largely, it's inventory financing, and there will be some performance marketing and growth financing involved. I'll take a break at a natural point and then we can. Supply chain financing. This is easy process. See, typically supply chain financing is based on the other party's credit. So, suppose an MSME is supplying to a large player, okay, and large player has a huge amount of credibility. So a line can be taken. Obviously, that party has to agree. So on the credit of the buyer, and based on that, you can get a financing done. So that's the supply chain finance. So these, what will happen is that in many cases, these things don't work because they may be doing this only for a very small part of their business. Large part of the MSME business is to other players like them only. Then MSME selling to MSME, supply chain financing will not happen. So, but if you have one or two good large customers, and then you can actually explore this properly. Sometimes that company may itself come and tell them that, okay, I will give you, the facility to use my credit, but in turn you need to give me material at this price, probably. That can happen. But many times, many companies, large companies, when they have this benefit, they don't, they also don't come and tell them, this one. So you need to actually figure out, suppose you are supplying to levers, or you are supplying to the Asian Paints. So you will have a credit taken based on the Asian Paints credibility. So you get the, you get the money earlier based on the supply that you made to Asian Paints. And obviously there is the cost will be there, but as long as it's a good credit, there is a credibility, the interest rate comes down. So this can actually happen at a quite decent rate, 9-10% also it's possible to get it done.
Is it same as channel financing? Is it same as channel financing?
Sort of. Supply chain channel financing is very similar. So this is Go Green initiatives. So today there's a lot of, at least there's a lot of noise on the ESG. So green, green, green. So what is green initiatives? Before I put it up, let me hear from you. What are the Go Green initiatives on which, let us say, there are some, we can call it a priority sector and on that financing happens. Any ideas?
Carbon credit.
Okay.
Auto EV auto.
EV is definitely one. See, there can be a lot of debate on whether EV eventually credit this one is Go Green or not, but there are specific identified. Renewable sector. Renewable energy is the biggest example for this. So if you are, are supplying either to them or you are in that particular sector, probably there will be some benefits available actually. It's up to ₹1 crore for a 3 to 5% interest rate. Let me put it this way. Suppose you have a manufacturing plant, but for the manufacturing plant power, you are putting up, let's say, solar power or wind power. Under specific circumstances, you can, actually, structure it in a way that this will become eligible. So, do we think of IPO as a source of funding? How many CS chartered accountants think? I think the only chartered accountants in Mumbai and Ahmedabad think IPO as a source of funding. But today, for MSME, especially MSME board, the NSE, is definitely a very good option. It comes with its own set of challenges. Okay. However, MSME board is much easier to manage compared to the main board of NSE. So, even with the, you would have heard, various examples. So obviously, the notorious ones actually get circulated to social media. But even people with the 10, 25, 30 crores of turnover, based on certain this one, they are able to go and get listed and get funding. So the way to think about IPO, okay, is you need to have a long-term thinking. You can't say that I want to get this funding to the next month. You need to think of 2 years. So your discussion with investment bankers and all will start 2 years before or 1.5 years before, because there is always, cosmetic work to be done, right? You need to clean up a lot of mess that you have created in the past. So, you need to make the books clean, and then obviously a lot of processes need to be set right, because there will be some amount of due diligence and other activities happening. No one is going to, directly put in money, especially the institutions which have to, prior to putting some money, because without that, public may not put in money. All that structure is there. So you have a good amount of work to be done. None of this is going to be easy. But I am saying, no, this is again another option. And today, If any of you, you can also connect to me. It's not that I do any IPO invoice, I don't do. But I can connect you to people who actually do this work. So you can work for your client to give them, to figure out how to help them to go into IPO, at least by 2027. It is definitely possible. So if you see, the NSE Emerge is the platform name for MSMEs. You can see over the years how it has actually climbed. So 2018 was a kind of blip actually. Then you know a lot of things that happened in 2018. But again you see a upward climb now. Today it is especially specific markets. Okay, some of those you can call them roadside vendors, but they are also listed companies. So it's about mindset changing from our side as to that for our clients the only source of money is State Bank of India. So we need to change our mindset. Then probably all these doors will open for us. So you need to be an SME company. So post-issue capital has to be 25 crores, track record for at least 3 years, and then positive net worth, then operating profit from operation for at least 2 out of 3 years. 1 of the year you can still have a loss, but at least 2 years you should have an operating profit. Then you can actually think of anything. So this is for an SME company. Then for a technology company, slightly different explanation, but at the end of the day, it is definitely possible. So I will not get into that because a lot of you know the IPO benefits. I will not spend my time on that. Yeah. So eventually you can migrate to main board. That option is always there with you. So what is the advantages that you see? Many MSMEs, if you see, I have seen this, I am sure you will also agree. You talk to the main owner, okay, he has a good amount of knowledge of his business. He understands market, he has been in that business for 20 years. So he knows everything about the company. You get impressed when you talk to him. Guys, really, he should be a stalwart. Probably he has few connections and all that. Then you ask, okay, so I can't talk to you every day. So with whom do I talk to on this one? The next level is from here, it is here. Okay, then you come with somebody with a shirt, with the unbuttoned shirt, and the guy can't even speak one proper sentence in any language. Why is he there? Loyalty. Okay, so in many cases our biggest problem as a chartered accountant is how do you break this bridge and get in? Because this guy is so trusted by the business owner. He is more or less blind to all the defects that the guy has. The point I am trying to make is that many of the MSMEs, the problems are not simply about funding. It is also about their org structure. Organization-wise, at the next level, there is nobody. Why there is nobody? Okay, ask yourself. If you are tomorrow, you have somebody in your family who has the choice of joining an MSME or joining say Infosys or Accenture. Put your hand on your heart and say where you will advise them to go. Of course, right? So why is it so? So on one hand we can keep on saying the MSMEs are they are not really big brand creators. They are not big brands because they are not thought like a big brand. They never believe in all this. With an MSME IPO, what happens? We can create ESOPs. It basically means the guys who come in, okay, can then be given a 3-year, 4-year kind of vision. Saying that you be here, you contribute, then you can actually get create some value for yourself. Only with that you will be able to attract talent. The reality of many MSMEs is that their own sons and daughters don't want to go and join the business of the parents. Fact of the matter, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why is it? You have to ask this question, why? Why do the next generation do not want to go into? It's very easy to blame the next generation, saying that they have been born with still a silver spoon, they don't want to go through the grind. It's all that old generation complaint. But I disagree. It may be true in very specific cases, but there is nothing wrong in saying that if I have a choice, I want to go into a job which is where it's going to be a lot more structured. Probably I am going to get a lot more guidance where I can build my career in the right way, and probably it has a certain amount of work-life balance. Tell me what is wrong in that? Probably each of us want for ourselves the same thing, right? So when the next generation says this, the parents don't agree. But why it is so? It is because they are seeing their parents struggling throughout their life. They are not, the parents have not really built a company which has beyond a revenue and this one anything else. There is no brand created, there is no team, there is no next level of managers who are who tomorrow, in given some bit of guidance, can actually take over the. Many of those MSMEs work as they don't want the next level to actually come because they don't want to give up their. So there are a lot of complexities. Point of an MSME IPO is that with that you are able to create a option where people actually can earn money over a period of time. We can come in, we can give somebody who comes out of a IIT and he wants to come and join. If you say I am going to give this salary, probably you are giving the same salary as a bigger company, but the bigger company gives him something that you don't, which is an option in the future, opportunity in the future. You need to create it in the MSME. How do you do that? You have to look at all the possible options. Okay, so I will take a break now at 6:30. So we will complete the after break. I am taking up the next one. What is the CA as an advisory can do in MSME?
Cannot figure what next step. 15 minutes, sir. 15 minutes.
Huh? 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Okay. Shall we start? Okay, so for those who came a little late in the day, let me do a quick intro about myself, 2 lines only, so that you should know that we are talking to someone who is worth investing your next 1 hour into this. I am a CA with close to 32 years of experience, with a mix of experience in corporate, close to 25 years, 27 years actually, and then another 5 years into consulting. So I worked in large companies, worked in mid-sized companies, advising startups, advising foreign companies. So completely spectrum of experiences. So probably that's why the reason I have been actually asked to cover this. I am also speaker in the MSME course for the institute. We cover, I think, 17, 18 batches have happened. Almost 15 batches I have been part of that. So we covered, if you remember the topic, what was the topic? Anyone? How many of you remember the topic? Let me see. All that you remember is that it's a CP3 hours of credit. Okay, what was the topic? 1 step. So I can talk about anything there. Anyway, you don't remember the topic. It is MSME day. Okay, so we are talking about partnership of CA profession. Okay, with MSMEs. So I have mentioned 3 words: compliance, funding, and beyond. My theory is that 90% of practicing chartered accountants do not go beyond compliance and funding. That is where they stop. But future of the CA profession lies in thinking beyond compliances and funding, and how you can contribute actively to the business of your clients. That's where the future is the point. So we covered the compliance part and the funding part in the first part. So next 1 hour is going to be in terms of what kind of a role CAs can actually play. So how a CA actually needs to advise in the MSME life cycle. I request all of you to participate as much as possible. Put your mobiles on silent mode and probably put it inside the pocket so that it doesn't disturb you. You don't disturb the mobile, more important. Okay, so focus on this. There is going to be some questions and answers. Right? So I think now, if you guys don't participate actively, I will start picking up the people and saying that why don't you answer? So it's going to be interesting session. So as we say, MSMEs are backbone of our economy, right? So all these numbers, huge amount of contribution to the economy. But they also face huge challenges, susceptible and vulnerable, which is the biggest issue of MSMEs. The larger companies, first of all, even if they fail, I think if they try to fail, there are enough other people who have to ensure that they don't fail. Because their money is also at stake, banks and the government, all of that. So the minute you are out of the MSME, larger company, a lot of other factors come into picture. But an MSME, he is there today, tomorrow his shop is closed, nobody is bothered. It goes, done. So they are very vulnerable and no one cares. Dynamic environment in which they operate. And hence, if you ask me, MSME as a sector, in the last 10 years, It was always difficult, but now it has become even more difficult for MSMEs to operate. We'll cover what is the problem. Let me cover this. So these are the strengths of MSMEs. India is known for entrepreneurial talent, and a lot of that is sitting in the MSME sector. That's how they are at least being putting their head above the water. If that entrepreneurial spirit was not there, and I can tell you this because I also have dealt with the other economies and all that. It is much higher in India compared to other places. The ability to think through a difficult business situation, probably the jugaad mentality. Okay, it also helps in terms of keeping the business afloat. That's the entrepreneurial skill set that we have. There is we have created series of institutions across the post-independence, which has also meant that there is a lot of technical knowledge and expertise even in the far-flung corners of the country. We are very adaptable as a country. We are flexible. There are a lot of cost efficiencies that come because when you are operating, you don't have, your only overhead is your head. There is no other cost attached. Then that means your costs are very minimum. You are able to manage that. When you are an MSME, when you are a small business, you are not manufacturing on a large scale. But what is the next one, positive side of it? You can actually make the product based on the customer requirement, which is bespoke products. So you can keep on changing the product the way the customer needs, which means you are able to respond to the market. Feeder to large industry players, then poised for use unskilled labor force. Imagine if MSMEs were not there, who would employ all this one that is coming out of the agriculture? Because agriculture, is becoming lesser and lesser, both in terms of economic viability as well as their need of people. Because it's also becoming more automated, mechanized, right? So there's a huge amount of transition of unskilled labor from there. Who is going to absorb? This is only in the MSME sector in this country to absorb. That is why you are seeing that 26 crores of employment sitting there. So even as a country, there is a huge role played by these guys. Better place to implement digital transformation. If you are one guy, all that I need to change the business is to change you. If you adopt a particular technology, then entire business has changed. So in theory, digital transformation should be faster for an MSME. Yes or no? Reality? Weaknesses. Access to capital is the biggest issue. They do not have access to capital. Partly problem is theirs, partly problem is structural. So because of that, their financial strength is very weak. Innovation as a strategy for competitive edge. Today you think of a chartered accountant, forget all MSMEs. If you are not innovative, if you are thinking, my father was a CA and his entire life he has only done accounting, bank audits and some tax return filing, and with that he has educated me, has brought me to here. So let me continue that. If you are not innovative, even as a CA you have no future. So imagine the MSMEs situation today. In their product market, whatever product they are doing, a lot of changes are taking place, right? So today any product, today you come with a new product, how long do you think that product is going to have an edge, in the sense you are able to charge the price that you want? Few years back it was 2 years, it came down to 1 year. Today it is 6 months or even less than 6 months. By that time, your product has become a commodity, because there are 10 other guys who have come with the same product, they are offering in the market. So you may still have market, but you are not going to have an edge. You are able to price it like a commodity. So it means you need to be innovative continuously as an MSME. And imagine these 1-man, 2-man people, setups, they are not in that position. That's where their weakness comes. Developing new age manufacturing capabilities. Where is the understanding? Where is the exposure? They don't. They continue to do manufacture the old way, which means low quality, all kinds of high cost, all those challenges come in. Access to skilled labor, no. Managerial talent, zero. Brand development, zilch. Resistance to change and discover's attitude. If I have seen most bitter people, that is typically MSME owners. You talk to them, it is as if the whole world is conspiring against them. You give them an idea, I have tried that. Give them another idea, that also has been tried. Give them a third idea, this has been already done. So there is nothing, that is positive approach in the mindset. And suppose you fail sometime back. If you are not ready to take the ownership of that failure is because of me, And hence, now I need to try the same idea but with a different lens. If you don't go there, you are in this risk-averse attitude. That is the end of any business today, because no business can run without you having the ability to take risk. Opportunities large, projected growth in demand. See, India is still one of the best growing economies in terms of the opportunities in the world. And what largest population also means the largest amount of local growth is going to be there. And a lot of people are migrating from lower income to middle income to higher income, which means per capita consumption is only going to go up. So large part of it is actually available to MSME. So at a global level, at a very high level, the opportunities are there. Emergence of national market. Today you can sit in one corner, be on a Flipkart platform and supply to anywhere in the country. Diversity of export portfolio. You can, today there is so much of opportunity even in terms of exports. Earlier the support systems were not there. Today you can use the support systems actually to even export. Make India Trust, import substitution, all these schemes are available, provided you think in that direction. E-commerce platforms I covered, right? Schemes to market Indian products and brands in international trade fairs. I don't know if you are aware of this. There are international trade fairs where the government will support you to actually go and present your product and look for markets. Are there guarantees? In this world there is no guarantee for anything, including our life. So you participate in a fair, there is no guarantee that the market will come. But if you don't participate, there is a guarantee that you are not going to go. So the choice if you run a business is that you need to actually explore, which these days it is up to the MSME to actually explore. Threats. So I covered this. Ever reducing product cycle. Whatever new product you have developed, it becomes very quickly obsolete. You have to think of a new cycle, which means you should not only be an entrepreneur. You need to be a technology guy. You need to have an idea on the product side. You need to understand the market very well. Suddenly, an MSME he needs to have some 10 different hats. He needs to be a good finance guy because otherwise this will go down. He needs to know how to manage people. He needs to have HR understanding. He needs to understand product. He needs to have a good marketing capabilities. Imagine a small time business guy having all these capabilities. Even after years of IIM education, the guys who come out actually sink the startups. So imagine the guys who do not even have that exposure. How will they have? There's a huge threat in terms of the skills needed to actually to run the MSME is far beyond the today's leaders of those MSMEs, and that's the huge threat for the sector itself. Non-availability of microcredit. Today, a lot of talk happens on microcredit, but in reality, microcredit. What is microcredit? Probably a 50,000 rupees loan. 1 lakh rupees loan. Because we saw that 98% of the MSMEs, that large number we talk about, are all chotu businesses, very small businesses. How will they can only survive if there is a microcredit? And in India, only now there is some amount of emergency. Otherwise, banks will say for our overheads and our cost structure, our minimum ticket size has to be 5 lakh. Less than 5 lakh, don't even come to the gate. The security guy will not even allow you inside. Okay? So where will the people go for microcredit? That's a threat to the sector itself. Rising global competitiveness. You can go and sell in the global competition. Probably global competitor, the Chinese guy will sit in Shanghai and then will be selling in your market. So it works both ways. So there is a threat as well. Then increased competition in cheaper imports. And you go and supply to a larger company. The larger company will work for its own interests. They will have monopolistic tendencies. They will squeeze you in terms of giving you payments in right time. The margin that you can make, everything is squeezed. They know your cost better than you, and they will only fix this is the margin you will make. And with that margin, you cannot even pay for the loan that you have taken. So structure of the business itself is bad for most of them. So I am assuming when I put this thing that you have some MSMEs. So we will go through life cycle of an MSME, and then you need to reflect whether it you are able to relate to that. What is the first stage of an MSME? It's the birth of a business idea. Okay, this is where there is some knowledge of the product. The guy comes in. I just now met one guy who is coming with an idea for a product. So that's the birth of a business idea. Right now you have an idea. That's all you have right now. You know if it could be product or it could be service. You know how to manufacture it or how to render this service. You know that part of the technical part of it. You have some contacts, some entrepreneurs, some friends, but nothing beyond that, because you are entering into the business world first time. And then some capital from family and friends. So, in fact, we used to, call it as a triple F. Who funds a startup? I used to say a standard joke. Triple F. Who are they?
Family, friends, foods.
Absolutely. Because there is no collateral, right? So you are, that's the only funding that you will get. So, imagine you are the advisor now. You are the chartered accountant. Apart from getting him MSME registration, what are the other things that you can do? That's the box here. I have deliberately darkened it. Now you need to give me the answers. What are the things that you should do? These are not, let us say, very complicated, Karoodpati questions, straightforward, simple questions. So, what are the advices that you need to give to a startup at this stage?
Business plan.
Business plan, good idea.
Financial plan.
Huh?
Finance plan.
Financing, how you will find the financing, yes.
Marketing strategy.
Marketing, okay. Compliances,
Geographical area where they need to.
where the geography focus should be, yes, good idea. Anything else?
MSME registration.
MSME registration,
Process documentation.
process documentation. Okay. So let me show the answer that I have written. First, you need to start with the capital assessment. When you are starting off, you have put up a business plan. What do you want to do? Maybe there is an initial period where you are developing a product, you don't have any clear sales. So at this point of time, how much capital needed even to sustain this business for the initial phase? I'm telling you, lot of the business get started without having any clue on how much money they want to actually spend on in that initial period. There's absolutely no idea. So people start their journey on the wrong foot. The next one, investment decision, buy versus rent. Many of these guys, when they start off, no, they are on a high. Okay, so whatever little bit capital is there, they will go and invest. Okay, my place, my assets. Today, almost everything can be rented, which means you are able to rationalize your use of capital. So take the place on rent. Your computers you can rent out. Yes, your probably monthly payout will be if you really do a calculation. But at this point of time, your strategy should be capital conservation, not really optimization, because this is an early stage. I am thinking this is the mindset change that the chartered accountant need to bring in terms of what is the right strategy at the right stage of the business. Go to market strategy. How do you? Somebody said to geographical spread. So how do you do this? Are you going to do direct sales? Are you going to go through a channel partner, franchisee? How exactly it will be done? How do you even get the initial customers? How do you reach out to them? How do you get the feedback based on which you can improve the product? These are all. You may say, why is there should be a CA being not? I am saying this is the job of a CA because all of these have a financial implication. If you are not able to put a number to it, then you are saying I am starting on a journey. I don't know where I am going to. So this is the job of a good CA who needs to help them on in terms of thinking through this. Then navigate legal and regulatory compliances. You mentioned that, and then avail schemes and benefits. What are the different schemes that could be there? How do you become eligible for that? So that's the good part. Small deviation. I used to earlier listen to songs in Nayana. So he had a very good, interesting point. He said, no, all of us love God. Okay, he used to say Krishna, but depending on your religion, whichever is your God. All of you love God. The question is, does God love you? Very, very interesting question. So, when you are avail scheme and benefit, what do I mean? I mean, we all want to avail schemes. Are you eligible? Do they want to give you money? For that you need to become eligible. Right? So that eligibility starts at this stage. Build the right process, build the right information. Then 16 months down the line, 1 year down the line, you are in a position to actually go and ask for things. Many times, the guys who, when they come, they have already, their balance sheet is in a bad shape. So that means there is nothing much you can do at that stage. Okay. So the next stage. Now, Imagine none of those things on the right side have happened. So you are in a scenario where fund crunch is gripping the, hindering the growth plans. Still, problem hasn't gone to an extreme extent, but now I want to do this, I want to go into this market, but I don't have money. That's the stage they have reached. So running business and funding business skills are different. Imagine, I would suggest you remember this sentence permanently. Running business and funding business are different things. Okay, so your contribution has to be in how the fund has to be, business has to be funded so that you can run the business. That's the contribution that has to come from the chartered accountant. Business growth is not planned in advance, and the funds crisis disheartens the founders. You have all these ideas, they want to catch that idea, but they are not able to jump. It seems to be above their their jumping capabilities. Credit worthiness and market reputation not built from beginning. You don't build this credibility from day one. That if you take something from somebody, you pay in time. Okay, you take team, you pay their salaries in time. You don't do any of this, and then later on you will complain that nobody wants to give me credit. Employees come and they run away. Problem would have started at the beginning from you only, because imagine, I can tell you this from my experience. Paying salaries in time, it does not happen by automatically. So that means you need to have a cash flow plan. Otherwise it doesn't. It's not about simply that I am going to, it's good intent. Good intent doesn't mean. Similarly, vendor payment in time. How many of your clients have internally a review? How many of the vendor payments happened in time? If they don't, I am telling you, over a period of time, vendors will have a very poor view about your finances. And eventually, that source actually gets blocked. Repeatedly fails to grab market opportunity because you don't have money now. Market opportunities miss out, and profitability comes through shortcuts. So eventually, that's where you start getting into shortcut profitability management. Then, what is the typical signal for you as a financial guy is that low profitability, low margins. There is a good turnover, but margins are low. He thinks he can actually make a 30% margin, but he is only able to make 12% margin. That is a sign that a lot of things in the business are not going right. So now tell me, what are the answers here? What are the financial advisors you should be doing?
Not clear about
Microsoft.
What are the effective business strategies? You are in this situation now. You are not in the first situation. You are in the second stage of the business. So this guy has walked in. All these are the things that you are seeing with you. So what are these to be done now?
Normally Microsoft, micro or something, small businesses managed by a single person. Like he is looking after sales, distribution or production. It should be, they need to build a team so that we can get the...
Good point.
And what about turnover? Normally they focused on all the areas, so they cannot cut the cost of the production. So we need to suggest how separate team need to be built for the production or sales or distribution or marketing. So one person need to generate. Already since we are getting the turnover, we need to concentrate by taking the break-even point as a or sales or this one. Then we need to continue as a.
Okay. So let me, in the interest of time, I am moving ahead, but I would suggest you guys should try to give answers. I am telling you, more wrong answers you give, and then you get corrected. Your learning is long term.
cost analysis.
Business planning, basics. Short, medium and long term. Earlier it was just business planning, that's how to, but this is a time where you have already established some amount of understanding. So you need to do all three, short term, medium, long. It looks very complicated, but it is not. Because the business is still reasonably simple. It is all that you require some half an hour of discussion. But then you start building optimistically what could be done, realistically what could be done, those scenarios you build, and business plan emerges out of it. Effective planning for funds and utilization. You have to say, money is there, money has a different colors. How this money comes, what purpose it has come, I will use it for that purpose. Short-term funds for short-term use. Long-term funds for long-term use. Collected GST, it will use for GST. You directed salary from the employees, you will go and pay PF. Build that habit at this stage, otherwise you will struggle later. That's again no CS give this proper advice. I mean, you don't thumb the table and give this advice. You will say nicely, but eventually you don't take it as a right advice, as a financial advice I need to give. And not just advice, I am telling you, most of the time, the real challenge for the guys is that how do you build that as a part of the process of the business? When the money comes, how do you really segregate them and what money belongs for running business, I will keep it, what is not mine, I will keep away. Because when they don't do what happens, they will use a short-term fund for building the business for long-term, and then they get into trouble. Okay, then focus on quality. I have asked this question. Many of the clients, when we go and talk, they don't have incoming quality on materials. They don't have outgoing quality on the product that go. It is not even built in. Somebody saying visual inspection. What do you mean by visual inspection? Who is doing the visual inspection? Some unskilled labor sitting at the in the godown. You call that quality check? No, you build a product of this kind of a quality. Then how do you expect to compete in the market? Because this has to be, whenever you build something, you have to build with a long-term plan and the right.
Thank you, Chairman sir. We have an announcement. Tomorrow we have full day seminar on cooperative audit, 6 hours CPE, and also on 30th June we have half day seminar. Kindly register for the seminar. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.